lesson 3, the first character is na. This actually has 3 components, but you can think of it as 2. The mouth component indicates that it is being used for the sound. Then we have an unusual component in the middle that I'll talk about a little bit more. It's kind of involved. It's written this way: hung, ja, go, hung, pie. Now there's another character that looks very similar, yue, which means moon. And these two are not the same. So this one is actually ran and was anciently a depiction of something like fur or furry. It looked something like this. There's another modern form of it that looks like this. So you can see it goes from here to here and then from here up to there. This component is very rare in terms of the number of characters it turns up in, but the characters it does turn up in are used frequently. The right-hand side looks like a right-hand ear, which is what it's called, but it is derived from this character, which is a depiction of a city or a city gate. It's pronounced E. So you can imagine a gate tower, a big tall gate tower made to protect a gate. There it is, the city gate, and you can sort of envision how that's city. And then when it needs to be compressed into the character, it's written like that. So let's go through that whole character on its own. We have the mouth radical, ko, shu, hung, ja, shu. And then the ran part, you want to make sure you start with the top first. Hung, ja, go, hung, pie. And then the right-hand side, it looks like an ear. Hung, ja, wan, go, shu. Na. The next character, guo, country, area, or place. This component on the outside means a border, and it means different kinds of borders. It could be the border of a garden, the border of a country, the border of an illustration. It is not a character in itself, it's just a component. The component that in simplified form inside is jade, which looks like a king. This is Wang, or king, and then you add a dot to it, it means jade. Originally, it was, or in simplified, or excuse me, in traditional characters, it's written like this. I'll talk about the components here in a moment. So this is the traditional character for guo. It depicts inside of a border a spear. There's a spear, and someone is on the ground. That indicates the ground, just the hung, the e, and then here is the someone indicated by his mouth. So someone is guarding the borders of the country. And in simplified form, we have a shu. Hung, ja, go, hung, shu, hung, dian. So now we've filled the box. Now we can close it. Hung, guo. The next character is ren, pie, na. And anciently, it looked something like this. Depiction of somebody just with their arms hanging over. Somehow I don't have that quite right, but it sometimes is written like that. The next character, dui, means correct, right, or oh yes, I remember. And it is composed in traditional, or simplified characters. We have this thing on the right. Looks to me like a camp stool. It is a depiction of a right hand. The component on the right is also a depiction of a hand. It means, it's pronounced twin, meaning inch, and would be, originally was a depiction of the hand with a mark showing the wrist, which would be the thinnest part of the hand. So it's written like that. So you can think of this as two hands joined together. Traditionally, you had this component on the left, and the thing about this component, nobody seems to know where it comes from. So not all components mean something to modern Chinese writers. In simplified form, this actually makes more sense. You've got a right hand, hung pie, dian, shu. No, hung, shu, go, dian, dui. Let me write that one again. I think that was kind of a confusing discussion. So you've got the right hand thing on the left. Hung, pie, na. Hung, shu, go, dian, dui. The next character is extremely simple. It is just a depiction of a child without arms, a very small something. It's not that the child doesn't have arms, it's just a way of depicting something that can't be depicted otherwise. The next character, Fa, which is phonetic for France, is composed of two parts. This is called Tian Shui, or 3 dots water. So you can count them, 1, 2, 3 dots. Shui is written like this. Anciently, very anciently, depicted like this, sometimes like that, a stream or water flowing in the stream. Here's water. When it's written as a component, it splashes into 3 drops. The right-hand side of Fa is written like this. Originally, it is thought to depict a cover on a cup. So you take off the cup. This component on itself is pronounced chu, which means to go. So you take off the lid and it is gone. Something to that effect. Chu is phonetic in Fa for no well understood reason. It just is. So here we have E, dian, dian, and another dian that is rising. Hung, shu, hung, pie, ja, dian, fa. The next character is phonetic in America. It means beautiful, but it's just phonetic. And it is composed of 2 components. It looks like one big character, but it isn't. It's 2. The top part is written like this. And it derives from the depiction of a sheep. And you can see the horns of the sheep up there. The bottom part is da, great. So for some reason, a great sheep is used to depict the word beautiful, probably phonetic, I think. So when we write it as a character, you divide it into 2 parts. Dian, dian, hung, hung, and then we do the shu. And then we do the hung. The top part is finished, and then we do the bottom part. Hung, pie, na. So you need to remember that's not one stroke all the way through. You break it into 2. I'll write it again just so you'll remember. Dian, dian, hung, hung, shu, hung, hung, pie, dian, mei. The next character is hui. Hui means able to do something, 你会说语言, to be able to speak a language. It also means to meet, to gather. So you can think of it as 人, person, over a cloud. So you can see the bottom part is like curling swirls of cloud with the heavens represented over the top of it. So like people coming together like clouds, and an ability to do something. That's hui. So as you write it as a character, pie, na, hung, pie, hung, dian, hui. The next character, E, 1. Enough said about that one. The next character has 3 components actually. The top component is bu. This means to fortune tell. So in the ancient oracle bones, they would take a bone, like the plastron of a tortoise, the front carapace or whatever. No, the carapace is the back. So the front of the turtle, and then they would ask questions on it. And they'd apply heat to the back, and when they applied heat to it, it would crack, and the way it cracked would tell their answer. And that crack looks like that. And in ancient Chinese, it's pronounced puk, which sounds like a crack. In modern Chinese, bu. But when it's combined with mouth, like this, you've got bu on top of mouth. That's pronounced John, and it means the same thing, to tell a fortune. But that is just phonetic in Dian. So we have this component, which is phonetic, and then 4 dots underneath it. The 4 dots can sometimes mean fire, it can sometimes mean legs, or water. In this case, I think it just means dots. Let's write it again, because that was an involved discussion. Shu, Dian, Shu, Hung, Zhe, Hung, Dian, 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 Dian. The next component you're not going to be using as a character on its own. It can be a character on its own, but in our case it's just a suffix of a syllable, R, and has a go on the end. This originally was written like this. In traditional characters, it's still written like this. That's a depiction of a mouth with the teeth on 2 legs, a boy, a child, a son. In this case, it's pronounced R. It is just an ending of a syllable, indicating that it's pronounced with an R. The next character, he, means and or with. 2 components. This time we have the mouth radical on the right side, indicating that you're just using the sound of the character. The left side is he, which means millet. Millet is a type of grain. It is the little round bird seed, which was the staple crop of northern China anciently. So it is a depiction of a plant, shown here by the branches above, the roots beneath, and the stem going through it. So that's a plant, but in this case, the grain is bent over. The ear of grain is bent over, ready to harvest. So now it is written with the pie to indicate that. And the mouth just shows that you're using it for phonetic purposes. So we've got pie, shu, shugo, pie, dian, shu, hung, zhe, hung, he. And that is it for lesson 3.